And yung tinatawag class nilang secondary obligations. So what are the primary obligations? This is your keyword. Undo. Ito naman ay ruwipa. Ayaw mo na ruwipa, pwede mong tawagin pariku. Ruwipa or pariku. Ruwipa or pariku. Ito ng kanto. Undo and ruwipa. So number one, so we have pangit itong pansulat ko. Ano type? Pure and conditional obligation. 2, obligation with a period. 3, alternative and facultative obligation. Facultative. 4, mancomunada and solidario. Yan yung joint and solidario. 5, divisible and indivisible obligation. And 6, obligation with a penal clause. Now, the secondary obligations are found in the different, hindi katulad nito class, meron silang specific chapters in the civil code where you can find them. Unlike the secondary obligations, they are found in the different portions of the civil code. Para bang squatters of class, kung saan mo na sila makikita. But it doesn't mean that they are less important. So they are real and personal obligation. 2, unilateral and bilateral obligation. 3, individual and collective obligation. 4, positive and negative obligation. 5, accessory and principal obligation. And 6, conventional. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123, conventional and legal obligation, including their, yeah, no? So those are the kinds of obligation we will be discussing. Pero magpo-focus tayo sa primary. Dadaanan na lang natin ang secondary behavior. Focus sa primary obligation. So, anyway, pag sinabi mong real obligation, pag sinabi mong real obligation, yan yung obligation to give. Pag personal obligation to do or not to do. Pag unilateral, one party only ang may obligation. Bilateral, both. Minsan may multilateral pa eh. Pagka multilateral obligation, all. Pero pag ganun less, like contract of partnership, lahat. Bilateral naman, obligation sa sale, both the vendor and the vendee. Unilateral naman sa contract of donation, isa lang. See? Individual, one object lang ang ibibigay. Collective, all objects ibibigay. All objects ay ibibigay. Collective is also known as conjunctive obligation. Conjunctive, also known as compound obligation. Yan, no? Compound obligation. Positive, to give, to do. Negative, not to give, not to do. Yan yung obligation na there is no delay. Because all you have to do is do not do anything. Accessory naman, cannot stand alone. Like penalty, principal can stand alone. Conventional naman means by agreement of the parties. Legal. Conventional agreement. Legal by law or by provision of law. Be happy for a while. Focus na tayo, class, sa primary kinds of obligation, ha? I will erase this portion. Yung una mo na, class. Pure obligation, conditional obligation, and obligation with a period or term. With a period or term. So pure obligation is also called unconditional obligation. Some even call it absolute obligation. This is an obligation without condition, without period. It is therefore demandable immediately or demandable at once. All at once. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Yan, ha? Hindi katulad nito. Ha? With condition. And it is demandable when condition happens. That is the rule. Actually, ang tawag dyan, suspensive condition. If you become a CPA next year, see, when condition happens, suspensive condition. Exception to the rule, yung tinatawag class nila, resolutory condition. Because it's happening will extinguish the obligation. Example, you stay in our farm for free. Okay? Until you find a job. So your finding a job will terminate, will extinguish my obligation. Pero in the meantime, pwede ka na magstay sa farm namin. For free, walang bayan. Maraming puno doon, pwede kang mabuhay. Excuse me, class, for a while. Okay, class. That's it, huh? You stay in our farm for free until you find a job. Ang tawag dyan, resolutory condition, also known as in. Also known as, in American law, they call it condition subsequent. And ito, ang tawag nila dito, condition precedent. Because it precedes the obligation. Kailangan maging CPA ka muna bago magkaroon ng obligation. Ito hindi. Condition subsequent because it is subsequent to the obligation. Dito may obligation na kagad, oh. Stay in our farm. Tinandong ka na sa farm. Pero pag pumasa ka, wala na ako obligation. See? That's why it's called condition subsequent. After the obligation. The other one is before. Let's focus now sa important topic sa condition. Okay? The different kinds of condition and what are the legal effects of this. So a condition may be illegal or immoral or impossible or not to do. Pagka itong tatlo, ito ang condition class. Illegal, immoral, impossible, illegal. I will give you this car if you can kill Valladolid. Illegal. Immoral. I will give you this car if you can have an illicit relationship with Gloria. Immoral. Illicit, ha? Impossible naman. I will give you this car if Valladolid can defeat LeBron James in NBA on a one-on-one game. Matindi, ha? See? Valladolid, ha? One-on-one sila, basketball. Ni LeBron James. Matindi, ha? Tapos ang karato-rato, natalo ni Valladolid ni Sir Valladolid yun, si LeBron. Matindi, yung pala. Ha? Pag nangyari yung class, hindi tunay na tao si Valladolid. I will not believe that your Sir Valia is a real person. He is an alien. Well, dito class, the obligation is invalid. But if it is not to do any of the three above. May tinanong niya sa board exam, ha? Oh. I will give you A if you will not kill B. Oh, see, not to do an illegal. The obligation is valid kasi not to do any of them. Be careful, ha, class? If it is not to do any illegal or immoral or impossible, as if, no condition. Kasi not to do eh. Kasi nga, void yan na condition. So, valid. Obligation is valid. As if lang, ha? Parang walang condition na rin. Ito, number 5, importante din to. Debtor prevented the condition to happen. Debtor prevented the condition to happen. Yun yung, pero pag ganun, sinadya niya, limbawa, if you pass the CPA, if you pass the CPA, pero during the board exam, o kaya the day of the board exam, the day before, pinainom niya ng pampahilo, o kaya pinainom niya ng lason, para magkasakit at ma-hospital at hindi makapag-take ng board exam, edi syempre, he prevented the condition. So the obligation is valid and demandable. Because as if condition was fulfilled in that case. Ito naman, very important to. Yung tinatawag class nilang potestative condition. Ang potestative condition, ibig sabihin, soul, will of one party. Isa lang ang magdi-decide. So, itanong mo, kung debtor only ba or creditor only? Pag debtor only, it is invalid. Example, if Philco, if I like A to B, I will give you this card. If I like, that is void or invalid. Dahil hindi siya matinong usapan, invalid. Pero kung if you like, yan, yung nasa itaas, yung if I like, pinalitan ng if you like. Sabi ni A kay B, I will give you this car of mine. This car of mine. That is valid. You see the difference, class? A minute for you to take down notes. Very important rules pagdating sa condition. Yan. Maraming beses na itanong sa board exam yung mga yan. Especially 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Meron namang mga condition na kumakain ng panahon. Ano na ibig sabihin ng kumakain ng panahon? Ay, tumatagal class. Halimbawa, oy, I forgot, By the way, pag sinabi mong condition, what do you mean by condition? Hindi ko na ibigay sa inyo. A condition is a future. Future and yan, future and uncertain event. So it must be end in the or. If it is or false, it must be future and uncertain event. Example, if you become a CPA or pwede ring past event. If unknown. If unknown, kailangan to both parties. Nangyari na pero pareho hindi nila alam. Halimbawa, hindi nyo alam kung sino yung nanalo sa karera. May contest, merong race between A and B. At nag-uusap si X and Y. And tapos na yung game. Para bang one class? Para bang sa FIBA? Tapos na yung laro ng US at saka Canada, pero hindi mo alam kung sino nanalo, hindi nyo alam kung sino nanalo kayong dalawa. Basta both parties hindi nyo alam, pwedeng condition yun. Sige, sa'yo na tong kotse na to kung nanalo ang US. Sabi niya, sa'yo na tong kotse na to kung nanalo ang Canada. Yun ang past event. Unknown to both parties. Okay. May mga condition, as I told you a while ago, na kumakain ng panahon. Halimbawa, sabi ni A kay B, I will give you this farm if you become a lawyer. And you are only first year in the College of Law. First year student ka pa lang. Or katulad nyo. Huwag na lang lawyer. Kayo to katulad nyo na lang. If you become a CPA next year, 2024. Ngayon 2023 pa lang. Di mga mahigit isang taon pa yan. Pwedeng bago mangyari yung pagiging CPA mo, yung farm na yan ay mawala. Or mag-deteriorate. Or pwedeng mag-improve. Either ang value niya or worth niya or nature. So what are the rules? Ito yung rules. Kasi loss dito, class, pwedeng legal loss. Pwedeng kinuha ng gobyerno. If lost, without debtor's fault, obligation is extinguished. Pero kung with debtor's fault, he is liable for damages or other remedies. Kung nag-deteriorate yan without debtor's fault, the creditor will have to bear it. Ibig sabihin, pasensya siya. Hindi naman kasalanan eh. Sir, pwede mag-deteriorate yung farm. Pwede ba yun, sir? Yes. Katulad ng El Nino. Sumobrang init. Namatay lahat ng mga puno doon. Nag-deteriorate siya dahil it's a fruit-bearing trees. Pero kung with debtor's fault, dahil kasalanan niya, creditor has two options. Yan ang option ni creditor. Fulfill plus damages, or kung pwede, rescind the contract plus damages. Huwag na natin ituloy, but I charge you damages. Or ituloy natin, pero i-charge kita ng damages. Pag nag-improve naman, let's say gumanda yung nagmahal yung farm, nag-improve yung value niya, pwede yung kanyang value or pwede yung kanyang nature. Without debtor's money or efforts. Basta natural lang. Ang pag-improve niya, it will inure to the creditor's benefit. Ibig sabihin, swerte si creditor. Swerte si B. Si B dito ang creditor, si A ang debtor, dahil sa'yo nangako. Pero kung with debtor's money or efforts, halimbawa, nagpagawa siya doon sa farm na yan, nagpagawa siya ng warehouse, then debtor has the rights of a use of fracture. So what are the rights of a use of fracture? From the word use of fracture. Bago niya, he has the right to use or possess. Basta before delivery. Before due date. Hanggat hindi pa na i-deliver, the right to use or possess. The right also to the fruits. And the right to use, right to the fruits, as well as right to reimbursement. Oh, right of reimbursement, right to reimbursement. Right of reimbursement. For, hindi lahat, valid expenses lang. Yung valid expenses. Ang mga valid expenses ay useful expense, and necessary expense. Yan lang. Pag sinabi mong useful, in-improve niya yung value. Necessary, to save the property from destruction. So kung ang expense ay extravagance lang, wala. Walang refund or reimbursement. Those are the rights of a use of fracture. Useful. Halimbawa, pinalagyan mo ng irrigation dahil kailangan niya ng tubig dahil natuyo yung farm. Useful yun. Necessary, pinalagyan mo ng flood control device. Flood control kasi nasa tabi ng ilog. Kinakain ng tubig yung tabi ng farm. It's a necessary expense because to save the property from destruction. Okay, yeah. Be happy for a while also. Rights of, rights of use of fracture, use of fracture. So, punta na tayo ngayon sa obligation with the period. See? Very important topic siya, class sa board exam. So, period naman. Period is very important because period determines. It determines when an obligation is due and demandable. Oh, see? It determines the due date, and the due date is the obligation when the obligation is due and demandable. So what are the kinds of period? So there are four important concepts. Number one, kinds of period Tatlo. Suspensive period, resolutory period, at yung tinatawag na silang a day certain. Pag sinabi mong suspensive period, it's happening or its arrival. If it arrives, the obligation is due and demandable. Its arrival will make the obligation due. Yan yung common. On December 25, 2023, dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way, bells in the bobtail ring, making spirits bright. Oh, what fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Hey, jingle bell, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Yan, yan ang suspensive period. Ito naman, resolutory period. Its arrival will extinguish the obligation. Until the end of this year, you can stay in our house for free. Suspensive period is also known as period ex die, and resolutory period is also known as period in the end. A day certain naman is a day which is sure to come, but unknown when. Unknown when. Example, plus death of a person. Death of a person who is alive. Siyempre, kung dead yan, hindi na. Hindi mo alam kung kailan siya mamamatay. A day certain yan. Huwag mo na sasabihin death next year. Pag sinabi mo, if X dies, that is a period. Or when X dies. A to B. Bibigay ko sa iyo itong kotse na to when X dies. That is a period. Pero, pag sinabi niyang when or if X dies next year, ilagyan na, that is a condition. Because this is uncertain. Death next year is uncertain. But the death of X in the future is sure. Because a period is sure to come. Unlike condition. Condition may or may not happen. Period is sure to come or sure to happen. Unlike condition, it is not, you are not sure if it will come or happen. Okay. Sure to come, but unknown when. Yan. Yan ang kinds of period. Okay. Number 2. Pag tinanong ka naman, for whose benefit ba dapat ang period? Answer. For both parties. For both parties referring to the debtor and creditor, unless, yan ang exception, unless stipulated na in favor of the other party. In favor of the other party. Example, debtor's benefit. Ano ang debtor's benefit? Diba? A to pay B. 1 million on December 25, 2023. O hindi sinabi kung kailan. Yung December 25, 2023, hindi sinabi kung kaninong benefit. Answer for both yan. Ibig sabihin, convenience A, magbayad on December 25. Convenient din si B magantay hanggang December 25. Debtors, okay, both. Paano naman kung debtors benefit? Lagyan mo on or before December 25, 2023, debtors benefit yan. Sir, bakit? Kasi si debtor ang may option kung kailan magbayad. Hindi siya pwedeng singilin before. Kasi sasabihin niya, meron akong on. See? Ibig sabihin, pag nilagyan ng on or before, mas merong power si debtor kung pagdating sa options. Pero pwede rin creditors benefit. Alisin mo yung on or before. Ilagay mo on December 25, 2023 unless creditor demands sooner or earlier. Pag pumayag naman si debtor sa ganyang term or tenor of obligation, ibinigay niya ang benefit kay creditor. That is creditor's benefit. Okay. May copy again, friends. Okay. Number 3. Number 2 yan eh. Kinds for whose benefit? Number 3. Favorite topic sa board exam ito, number 3. Sinabi ko kasi favorite, maraming beses na tinanong. At least mga 10 times in the past. Yun lang may tanong niya ng mga more than 5 times. Malaking bagay. Number 3. What are the cases when debtor loses the benefit of period? Ibig sabihin, immediately due ang obligation. Immediately due and demandable yung obligation. What are these cases or instances that you will lose the benefit of the period? And this is your cue. If it was, maraming beses na tinanong sa exam. If it was, pwede rin. Sabi ni FV, sabi ni Papa Digo, sabi ni FV, sabi ni Papa Digo. Number 1, or letter A, when insolvent si debtor. Kasi pag insolvent ka, you will lose the benefit of the period. All of your obligations will become immediately due and demanded. Or letter B, when debtor fails to furnish the guarantee he promised. Care of condition. Ibig sabihin, sorry. in connection with the period. Halimbawa, sige, I will allow you to pay that next year. Basta yung pera niya na 1 million, gagamitin mo sa agricultural. Yun. Ito naman, may guarantee siya na pinangako. Oh, I will allow you to pay that next year. Basta i-deliver mo sa akin yung kotse mo as a guarantee. Okay, pumayag. Hindi niya dineliver. You will lose the benefit of the period. Naibigay ko kalahati. Sisingilin ko na lang yung kalahati ngayon. Yung kalahati na binigay ko sa iyo, yung other half, hindi ko ibibigay, pero yung naibigay ko, sisingilin ko ulit. Dahil nangako ka na, ibigay mo sa akin yung kotse mo. O sige, boss. Di-deliver ko na. O, antayin ko ngayon mismo. Dahil ang usapan natin kahapon pa. Okay, letter C. Or, the debtor has lost or impaired. Yan pala, sundan natin yung sundan natin yung ating acronym. Or impaired. Ibig sabihin, either nasira or lost or nasira or bumaba yung value. Impaired yung guarantee through debtor's fault. Or D, nag-disappear. Disappear or lost yung guarantee pero through fortuitous event. Yan ang pagkakaiba. Dito sa letter C, kasalanan ni debtor. Halimbawa, nasira niya. Nag-drive siya na lasing. Naibangga niya ngayon sa poste ng Meralco yung kotse. Di sira. Total wreck. He will lose the benefit of the period. Pwede siyang singilin immediately. Doon sa napag-usapan. Or, ito naman, nawala. Pero due to fortuitous event. Kaya ito, unless debtor can deliver to the creditor, so meron ditong remedy na konti. Pwede niyang i-maintain pa rin yung benefit ng period if debtor can deliver to the creditor a satisfactory substitute. So take note, this satisfactory substitute rule is not allowed in letter C. It is only allowed in letter D. Letter E. When the debtor, si debtor daw, violated the condition for the period. Example class, yung feasibility studies. Di ba sa feasibility studies, nakalagay dyan yung paggagamitan mo doon sa funds. Let's say ang usapan sa feasibility studies, nakalagay doon agriculture. Yung pala, dinala niya sa commercial. O dinala niya sa marine or tubig. Ang usapan sa agriculture mo gagawin yan. Ba't ginawa mo sa industrial or commercial? Wala na. You will lose the benefit of the period. Kung bangko pa yan at bank loan yan, sisingilin ka na kagad ng bangko. Or, absconds. Nag-abscond si debtor. Ibig sabihin, tumakas siya. There was an act to evade the obligation. Halimbawa, nag-change siya ng address. Yung kanyang residence, pinalitan niya, pati yung kanyang business address without informing the creditor. Nag-transfer siya sa another from Manila, lumipat sa Mindanao. Halata yun. Kasi kung lumipat lang sa kabilang kanto lang, siguro pwede niya sabihin nakalimutan ko lang po. Pero yung lumipat ka sa Luzon, from Luzon to Mindanao, or Luzon to Visayas, the chance na malaman ni creditor, remote. So there is an attempt to abscond. Or he absconded already. He can lose the benefit of the period. Letter G, when it is stipulated. Stipulated. Halimbawa, if you get that job, you will pay me. Si umutang ng 1 million kay B. Kasi may makukuha akong job sa government. Ang usapan, pag nakuha ko na yung position na yan, yung cost na yan sa gobyerno, babayaran na kita immediately. But in the meantime, na hindi ko pa nakukuha, babayaran muna kita ng 1,000 or 10,000 a month. Pero pag nakuha ko na yung pwesto sa government, I will pay you kasi may funder na ako. Yun yung if stipulated. And number four, fourth, ito yung third concept. Fourth concept about period. When can courts intervene and fix the period for both parties? Kasi courts should not intervene as a rule. Dapat hindi siya makikialam kay debtor and creditor. Pero kailan ba siya pwedeng mag-intervene? Pero siyempre kailangan mag-file ng case. Dito, a case must be filed. A case must be filed in court. When can courts intervene and fix the period? Una, patray, pag ang period ay when my means will permit me, I will pay. At last, hindi yan conditional obligation. That is an obligation with a period, pero court will fix the period. Kailangan may mag-file ng case. Titingnan ng court kung kailan ka needs to pay. Letter B, or the period is based on the sole will of debtor only. Example, sabi niya, pay you little by little. Ay, paano ba yung little by little na yan? Paano kung 1 million, tapos nagbayad siya little by little, 1 peso a month? Sabi ni creditor, walang hiya ka. Ang nababayaran mo lang 12 pesos a year. Kung minsan nadidelay ka pa, mabuti sana kung ang utang mo 100 or 1,000 lang. Ang utang mo 100,000. Baka naman day of judgment, nagbabayad ka pa rin. Okay. And letter C, when period was intended by them, by the parties, but failed to fix it. Example, pay you within 5 years from now. Okay, kailan yung within 5 years from now? Hindi yan klaro. Sana man lang sinabing every end of the quarter. Or pay you ASAP, as soon as possible. O kailan yan as soon as possible. So ito yung mga instances, class, na courts are allowed to intervene and fix the period. So that finishes the most important rules about period. So we can go now to joint and solidary, but 10 o'clock na pala. 10:15 na pala. So 10:15, let's have magta-tax na tayo, but before we go to tax, let's have a coffee break muna. So let's have coffee break before tax. Ang coffee break natin ay 15 to 20 minutes. So coffee break muna tayo. Coffee break before tax. So ibig sabihin, next meeting, tuloy natin yung joint and solidary sa obligation, sa law, Sa tax naman ngayon, tatapusin natin ang basic principles at pupunta na tayo sa estate tax after the break. Okay, ha? After the break. Coffee break muna tayo. Coffee break. Coffee break. Coffee break.